Live button says we are live streaming. Tori, are we really live streaming? As soon as I see our picture come up, I'm going to close out of Facebook, Megan, so we don't echo.
Okay.
Awesome. Are we really live streaming? I think
I got the laugh too.
And then I think Tori says, you are live. Hello, happy Monday.
Good morning. Happy Magic Monday.
It's Magic Monday. I like Mondays. I really like Mondays, even if we weren't doing Magic Monday, but Magic Monday is one of my favorite things. I would still like Mondays.
Me too. This morning, Samson, my little boy, he's 8, said to me, while I was getting ready with the babies in the bathroom, he goes, "Mom, you have the same routine during the week as the weekends now." And I was like, I've made it. My peak routine in the morning is the same as it is on the weekend, which means like there's no like hustle and trying to get us to school on time. And right, it really used to be like that, which is why I would take Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And now I've really worked into it to where it's just kind of like joyful and easy and with the flow all the time. And then to have Samson say that, "Mom, your routine during the week is the same as the weekend now." And I'm like, it is.
That's so good. That's such a subtle shift. And I love that you bring that up, because that was one thing when you were young and you were being homeschooled. I really didn't like that morning hustle and bustle. I was really happy that you guys were homeschooled. We didn't have this jump up, and it's like it gets the adrenaline going, and not in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So that is such a subtle shift to create a daily life, a life that you can have every single day that actually feels good. That is magical.
Yes, yes. And the thing is, nothing out there changed, right? Like it wasn't that I started homeschooling the kids, right? There's still 4 kids to get ready in the morning and me to come and log on to work for Magic Monday. You know, there's still the same amount of stuff, but it was my approach where I decided to unplug from the adrenaline that I used to see as very necessary. I didn't even know that it was adrenaline, right? But it was like rigid and very like strategic and all the things put in order. So I knew exactly what to do, when to do it. And this was like, oh, you're right. Look at us accomplishing all the things and enjoying it. And I would say that this is a frequency that I have worked with and played with for a long time, which is the joy in the process, right?
Yeah.
The process is the purpose. So how can I find joy in the process of life?
Exactly.
And that's what we're here to talk about today. Is
I know.
frequency, is how we manifest the life of our dreams is completely dependent on our frequency.
Yes. 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 That's so good, because that's exactly what we were talking about, is how to maintain your frequency for manifestation. So I want to preface that, because that's exactly, I mean, it just flowed out so perfectly. This is being in the flow, right? That now many people might say, well, once my kids are out of school, then I can have a more easy morning. You know, they're waiting for circumstances to change outside of them in order to feel a certain way right now. Mm-hmm. And what we talk about regularly, which is really hard for people to hear sometimes, is that the circumstances, you're not waiting for the circumstances to change. You're embodying the frequency. So let's talk about the frequency that you have embodied, that you have a morning routine that is the same as the weekend morning routine. What is that frequency?
I actually have goosebumps just thinking about it, but it's freedom and joy, which is something that I have played with for a couple of years now, right? Yes. Is freedom to do whatever I want, and then the joy while I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm. Good, good. Good, good. So you didn't have to wait for the kids to grow up to have freedom and joy. In
Thank
fact, you were just talking about it, right? We were having that conversation this morning. It's like being in the joyful place, no matter what stage your children are in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or no matter what stage your business is in, or no
Mhm.
matter what stage the outside world is in, no matter what state it's in, right? And that, like you said earlier, this can be really hard for people to hear that it's not the outside that changes first,
Yes.
right? The frequency that we hold and maintain that must precede a physical change. Now, I think people are resistant to hearing that because they can't possibly believe that they could feel the way that they desire without having the physical change to their environment. And here's what happens when we can embody, truly embody and be the frequencies that we're desiring, the outside has to shift. It's
Yeah.
inevitable because the frequency that you're holding now is what has created and magnetized your current world. So to hold a new frequency, it is inevitable that it changes. It's
Yeah.
inevitable. The practice now is to let go of what it looks like when it changes.
Yes.
We only hold the physical manifestation vision long enough to get clarity on the frequency. Then when we have
Oh,
clarity on the frequency, we forget, or we must forget, what the physical appearance should look like.
yes. Yes. Wow, that is so key. I want everyone that's tuning in right now or tuning in during the, rewatching this to write that down. To write that down. Like this is so key, Megan. This is huge. It is transformative for people to really embody the manifestation process. Is that you come up with the vision only long enough to come up with the frequency that you believe that vision holds, that vision holds for you, right? So you wanted, so describe, I'll use mine as an example. For we moved into our castle, our magical castle in the enchanted forest, right? So I had no idea what that would look like, right? When I envisioned or manifested this, and I created a frequency wave recording, I recorded how I felt, right? Like how I would feel sitting out on the deck, looking out into the pine trees, how that felt to me, right? I couldn't really imagine exactly what the house would look like, although I had things that I wanted it to, a certain amount of bedrooms, but definitely my own workspace, Todd having his own workspace, and how that feels, right? That's freedom in it, a sense of peace and comfort, oneness. Those were the frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even decide how much money we could spend, how much money it would take. I didn't look at what houses we're going for. All of that worldly stuff, I didn't look at. I focused on the frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Focused on the frequency and how I felt being in this space.
Yeah. Yeah. And then then it was delivered to you, right? You didn't have to work for it. All of the stars just aligned, right? Getting more on the house. This particular, there were so many people that put applications in on the house that you're in. So many things just aligned for you. You magnetized it to yourself without having to do any sort of work. And that's because you were dedicated to the frequency. You weren't dedicated to the house. The same as I'm dedicated to freedom and joy. I'm not dedicated to how many hours I work or don't work. I'm not dedicated to number of clients or not dedicated to any one particular source of income, right? I'm dedicated to freedom and joy. So all of the other things are delivered to me. Ideal clients, streams of income, great support in my team, right? Those are delivered. You don't have to pick, you don't have to like hand pick each individual thing.
Or figure it out, right? So for sure, Todd, we moved 2 hours away, and Todd and I would watch our email. We would, our realtor was sending us houses, and we would at the last minute, drop everything, drive the 2 hours to come look at a property. So effort was put in, but not control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And the same with me. There's been effort in arranging my life, right? And arranging the windows of work and windows of self and windows of family. So there's like this co-creation with the universe that's taking place, but not control. And definitely not the rigidness of how it would work. And one other thing I want to touch on here is how many things have you actually manifested that you took for granted or didn't recognize? Because without Samson saying that this morning,
Right.
would I have ever known, like, oh yeah, this was one of the things that my weekends wouldn't feel better than my weeks, that my weeks would feel so good, it might as well be a weekend, right? That there would be no difference for me. All of it would be enjoyable. And so would I have recognized without Samson bringing it to my attention?
Yes. Exactly. That is so key because, and working with clients, I noticed that too, right? I learned many, many years ago to remind my clients or ask them, tune in. So what's different? What's different now than when we first started working together? And that's look at that. What's different now? Because we do kind of take things for granted. It just kind of a shift happens and it's like we miss it. And that's something we're doing inside the Trinity membership right now, is doing the magic and doing gratitude work so that we actually do look at what's going on in our life and having gratitude and appreciation for those things. So yes, I love that Samson said it and brought it to your attention. And you also manifested that little guy. So you manifested his eyes for you to see through.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm like, wow, thank you for bringing that to my attention. This is a big deal today.
I think that's so good too, because, as an example with our house is that, that Bible quote that before you ask, I have answered. Before you ask, I have answered. And that buying this house was definitely a true example of that, because getting into the frequency of the house and what we would have and how I would feel here. And what I mean by what we'd have is like seeing deer, seeing, having the hummingbirds and the squirrels, all those things are here. All those things could have been in many different homes, but I had a frequency of opulence and luxury. I wanted a castle in the forest, not a little cabin in the forest. So tuning into that, I didn't have any idea. I wasn't connected at all to the worldly financial piece of it, which was really good because I just kept tuning in, and so did Todd, kept tuning into what we wanted. And then the extra cash came in from the buyer. We didn't even try to manifest the extra cash. We were like, okay, the house will probably sell at this amount. That'll give us this amount to go into a new house, right? That's all we knew. And then when the extra cash came in, it was like, I put the pieces together, right? Like the houses coming through weren't everything that I wanted because our budget was too low. And that's when my realtor said, you're not finding the house that you want, I think, Michelle, because your budget is too low. And I'm like, oh, well, raise the budget, raise the budget. And the money had already come in. So it wasn't like I had to be conscious and aware of every little detail. It was
Mhm.
about being in the frequency.
Yeah, and I think this is probably where quite a few people struggle, whereas you and I have lived it so many times, there's a lot of proof to give us um, a knowing to keep moving forward in those times. Is people would wait to see exactly what they would have after the sale of the house to before deciding that they could raise their price, right? But you were moving forward already, and that was in motion without knowing the two were happening at the same time. So most people are spending so much time in the logic, so much time in trying to figure the puzzle piece out instead of staying in the present embodiment of source. Okay,
Yeah.
like this next step, I'm being guided to do it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. And then
Yeah.
at the end, you can look back at these magical moments like we do and go, "Ah, it did make sense the whole time. And I would have really slowed it down or possibly passed on great opportunities because I wanted to be in the driver's seat and I needed proof. I needed proof before I could say yes. I needed proof before I could change my mind. I needed proof before I could move forward. And what a waste of time. Like actually a slow way to live, right? Like that is the perfect example of the rat race. Do this and then that and then this. And how many opportunities you miss in the quantum because you're like quantum is happening all at once like this, and you're just going linear. Right? So you only have the opportunities on that linear line instead of all that are moving around, right?
Yeah.
We're always moving. We're always in tune with what's going to be before it ever is, without saying no to what's going to be because I don't have proof right here. Well, of course you don't have proof right here. You're in the past,
Right.
right? We're in the past of the future. So we don't have all of the future answers. Our
Yeah.
only job is to move toward the future, even without the answers.
That's so key. That's so key. And to put it another way is to we're choosing to live either in the quantum, choosing to live from potential and possibilities, or choosing to live by circumstances and by the physical proof, right? And that's what we're saying is like, okay, I have to plan this and this by looking at the physical. What's in the bank account? What's the market doing? What's this and this and this and this, right? That is the slow, limited way, is watching all of that. I can't stand any of that. I don't care what the market is doing, right?
Because
It's
then you're in response, right?
in
You're making
response.
your decision based on the outside world. And remember, in the beginning, we said to hold the frequency, and the outside world changes.
Yes, there you go. So I can't hold my frequency of freedom if I'm allowing the circumstances around me control my decisions. That's not
Mhm.
freedom or sovereignty or peace. That means I can only be at peace when the world is at peace.
Mhm. Right.
Right? So that's why it goes so fast when you choose to be in the frequency. And that's the thing, you magnetize it, right? That thing, this house didn't give me freedom. This house didn't give me certain things. I owned it first. I owned those frequencies, freedom, sovereignty, this is so funny, but it really is like belonging here, having my space, right? So
Mhm.
having my space, those were the frequencies. And that's what I imagined in, sitting on my deck, drinking my hot drink and being.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just so many steps, but I think this is a really pivotal one for people to understand is that it's the frequency. It isn't the end result. And that source energy moves fast. So
Mhm.
when you decide to go linear, that one opportunity that was coming around is now on this other side of the grid and is now over here and is now over there. So the point is to match source, right? Is to live by faith that source is taking care of you and the rest is delivered. So my invitation is how much faster can you go? This doesn't mean that you have to be busy, right? But even when we're magnetizing to us, how much could be magnetized to you quicker without you going like, oh, no, nope, sorry, don't have the money for that one. Or, oh, no, that doesn't look quite like I thought it would be, so never mind. How quickly can you receive, right? It doesn't mean how quickly can you catch up to source, how quickly can you receive source? And if everyone decided to just take some time to look at how much they receive or refuse to receive, right?
Yes.
Because it is actually the speed in which you can receive, because source is very, very fast. It's always increasing. So not only is it naturally fast, but then it's exponentially fast, and then faster, and then faster. It is the flow of source. So how quickly can you allow yourself to receive without controlling, without thinking, oh wait, can I receive that? I mean, it sounds like a good opportunity, but how much money is it going to cost me? Will it work for my family? How quickly can you say yes to source's deliverance?
Wow.
Yeah, that's good.
That's so good. So good. So that's our invitation to you, to speed up your receptivity, receive, receive, receive.
And stay in the frequency of what you want.
Stay in the frequency. Yeah, stay in the frequency. And that may mean setting your alarm and tuning back into that frequency, getting a vision of how that frequency feels to you. That, like I said, sitting out on the deck, drinking my hot drink. We do that every day, but that was the frequency that brought me, that it was that piece that's how I got there. So in manifesting other homes, it was Christmas time, having the Christmas tree up, the kids around the Christmas tree. That was joy. And that was the frequency in which I would manifest homes to me. So just a couple of examples.
Yeah. Yeah. Go have fun and play with the frequencies and see how much you can say yes to and receive today.
Yes. And check out the Trinity membership. We are here to support you in keeping that frequency high through EFT, sound bowls, Megan's readings. You have something every single week in the Trinity membership to have me and Megan's support in keeping that frequency up. We hope to see you there. See you next Monday. Bye for now.
Bye for now.